I base this part of the lecture on the article by Anagata Zhulitova about sound in Hong Sang-soo's films. Hong Sang-soo's films don't seem to have a hook at all to grab the viewer's attention. They don't capture either visually or plot. The director himself says in an interview that he strives to make a movie about what is happening around him. But in doing so, it inevitably repeats itself. After all, more often than not, one day is similar to another, isn't it? Each new film by Hong Sang-soo seems to borrow the outlines of the previous one. The same camera shots, the same actors, the same drunken philosophical conversations about love. The shifts are minimal, but the audience continues to watch and wait for the new films, which means that there is a hook. And it can be found if you change the angle of your usual perception, for example, by highlighting the sound content of the film. We often forget that cinema is not only moving pictures, but also sound waves. Even silent cinema has never been truly silent. It has been voiced by pianists, orchestras, or pyeonsa, a professional film commentator. Sound makes it possible to talk about Hong Sang-soo's films on a formal level. Although it is hardly necessary to strictly contrast sound and image. We are inevitably talking about both and also about mutual transformations. Hong Sang-soo's films are a space of endless dialogue. The characters talk in a bar, on a walk, in bed, talk even when there is nothing to talk about. In the theory of cinema, eye, emotion, body, Thomas Althusser and Malte Hagener gives a historical example of film sound criticism that could be the description of any Hong Sang-soo film. A banal display of ordinary talk. As the authors write, silent film theorists were afraid that with the advent of sound, film art would be reduced to dialogues. And even more, the sound in the cinema will turn it into the illusion of reality. For silent film theorists, this means killing cinema as an art. Surprisingly, here the Korean director is on the side of those who tried to protect cinema from sound. Hong Sang-soo's films make ordinary conversations vacuum, existing separately and not working for the plot. Take the dialogue out of the film and the story remains understandable, though it certainly loses its certain charm. What's even more interesting is that conversations are excluded from the soundscape. This vacuum seems to be formed precisely through auditory reception, the exclusion of environmental sounds. You realize this especially clearly when you watch the scene from the movie The Day the Pig Fell Down the Well. A loving couple rents a room in a hotel. The man opens the window, but outside noises do not penetrate the room. No rustling of leaves, no bird songs, no rumbles of the roads, nothing. In many other cases, Hong Sang-soo is not so radical. The external is present in one or another, but it is never given in its entirety. What do we hear most often in Hong Sang-soo's films? Speech framed by sips, shops, noise of dishes on the table. Here, in the scheme of numerous scenes in cafes, restaurants, and for home feasts. Although in everyday life such places are much more mobile in their sound. We can hear loud music, the hubbub of other visitors, the movement of waiters. In street scenes, it is more difficult to eliminate background sounds. But Hong Sang-soo managed to do it in the episode of the film The Day After, where at night in the park a man finds himself with his young mistress. They talk, but not a single sound of the external environment is heard. Yes, the silence of the night exists, but rather only at the level of language as a symbol. In reality, the night is full of sounds, the rustle of leaves, the communication of animals and insects. There is nowhere to escape from them in the city. A car passes by, noise is heard from the apartments. In most cases, the absence of noise causes a feeling of unnaturalness, unreality. It is strange to watch the heroes by the sea, but not to hear the sound of the sea itself. In a movie, At Night by the Sea Alone, two women actresses, Kim Min-hee and So Yeon-hwa, smoke and talk on the street, and then a man joins them, actor Kwon Hae-hyo. After a short conversation, the women return to the restaurant together, and the man remains to finish his cigarette. The camera is with a man, but we continue to hear the conversation of the retired women at the restaurant, even after they have already closed the glass door behind them. For a person tuned to the rich perception of the acoustic landscape, Hong Sang-soo's film would certainly be puzzled. Why does he not only turn off the sound that would create reality outside the frame, but allow huge gaping holes even in the visible space? The thing is, Hong Sang-soo uses sound differently. In his film, what is heard does not recreate reality, but rather serves as touches that only designate it. This is reminiscent of traditional Asian painting, where the background is not completely covered. The texture of the paper remains. The main thing at the auditory level, of course, is pitch. But the director also uses it in non-standard way. dialogue films require increased concentration from the viewer. It is worth being distracted for only a couple of seconds, and you risk losing the thread of what is happening. With Hong Sang-soo's films, especially recent ones, it is different. Forgetting for a while that then returning to the film is very easy. In his cinema, speech exists in two forms. It is both speech and background. A statement that carries meaning and a technique from the arsenal of post-dramatic theater, when the viewer hears the spoken words but perceives them only as a melody. Hong Sang-soo composes speech music. Hong Sang-soo comes from the haptic essence of the actor, his physical presence. In some scenes, the director intensifies the bodily action, as for example in the movie At Night by the Sea Alone, when the character Kim Min-hee bows in front of the bridge. We watch his films as if we were wearing headphones. In each of his work, the central melody dominates the conversations of the characters. And the outside world crashes into this music with varying intensity. To show how these intensities vary, he uses the audio track. Hong Sang-soo refuses to copy reality and at the same time avoids artificially replacing the world around him with more artistic sounds. Sometimes he excludes even more than the pragmatist requires. In the film The Day After, one of the scenes is immersed in silence. We are watching the publishing house office from the street. It is a winter night. Nothing happens in it, neither in the visual shot of the frame nor outside in sound. It might even look like a photograph, but after a while the sound gradually fills the frame. There is a very muffled noise from somewhere, as if the rumble of the road. The scene is indicative, so muffled we hear the outside world if the music suddenly stops playing in the headphones. However, more often the music still plays. Conversations do not subside for almost the entire film.